The grand chamber of the Intergalactic Council was a breathtaking marvel, a dome of shimmering crystal suspended in the vacuum of Xivra Prime. Within its vast expanse, representatives from over 100 species murmured in their diverse tongues, the hum of countless languages blending into an alien symphony. Captain Alara Nix adjusted the collar of her navy blue uniform, her sharp gaze sweeping over the chamber. She wasn't here for admiration. She was humanity's voice in the galaxy, and today, the stakes had never been higher. A holographic sphere above the chamber flickered to life, projecting a report in bold, glowing letters. Humans failed to acknowledge surrender protocol, aggression suspected. The murmurs grew louder, some alien voices rising in alarm. The High Arbiter, an imposing figure with 3 golden eyes and skin like molten silver, raised a hand, silencing the chamber. Captain Nix, the Arbiter intoned, their voice a symphony of harmonics that resonated through the hall. Is it true your species lacks a formal surrender protocol? Alara stepped forward, her boots clicking against the crystalline floor. She folded her arms, letting a faint smirk play on her lips. That's correct, High Arbiter. Humanity doesn't surrender. The chamber erupted. A delegation of gelatinous Gorgalians pulsated in what she assumed was shock. A reptilian ambassador's frills flared aggressively, while the stoic Raxorian overseer, Krothix, watched her from his raised podium, his mandibles twitching in what might have been amusement. The Arbiter raised their hand again, restoring order. Your refusal to surrender disrupts the delicate balance of intergalactic diplomacy. Explain yourself, Captain. Alara drew a deep breath. With respect, High Arbiter, humanity doesn't see surrender as an option. Our history is riddled with impossible odds, yet we persist. It's not recklessness, it's resolve. Resolve? Krothix interjected, his voice a low, guttural rumble. A charming euphemism for arrogance. Your refusal to abide by galactic norms endangers us all. What if every species behaved so chaotically? Alara turned to face him, her smirk sharpening. Overseer Krothix, humanity's actions are far from chaotic. If you studied our history, you'd see we thrive on finding solutions when none seem possible. That's not arrogance, it's adaptability. Krothix clicked his mandibles. Adaptability? Or a death wish? One human ship refused to surrender to my fleet. Its destruction was inevitable, yet your people wasted lives to delay the inevitable. Is that what you call wisdom? The memory stung. The Solaris, a human scout vessel, had been ambushed by Raxorian forces. Instead of capitulating, the crew had fought until the ship's destruction, crippling a portion of the enemy fleet in the process. Alara let the sting fuel her resolve. The Solaris crew saved hundreds of lives by buying time for reinforcements. She shot back. They were heroes, not fools. Perhaps you underestimated their ingenuity. The chamber buzzed again, some murmurs shifting in tone. She caught the eyes of a few sympathetic ambassadors, a feathered Zeveran, a crystalline Zinker, who seemed to consider her words. Enough. The Arbiter interjected, their tone sharp. Captain Nix, the Council requires humanity to adopt the surrender protocol immediately or face expulsion. Defend your position or accept the consequences. Alara straightened her posture. This was it, the moment that would define humanity's standing in the galaxy. High Arbiter, esteemed Council members, she began, her voice steady but firm. Humanity's refusal to surrender isn't a defiance of galactic norms, it's an embodiment of our spirit. We've faced extinction countless times, plagues, wars, even our own planet rebelling against us. Yet we endure. Our resilience is our strength. To demand we abandon it would be to demand we abandon what makes us human. She paused, letting her words sink in. We don't seek conflict. But when it finds us, we fight because survival is not negotiable. The Solaris' crew didn't surrender because they believed in protecting what mattered, even at great cost. That's not recklessness, that's courage. A silence fell over the chamber. Even Krothix seemed momentarily taken aback, though his mandibles soon clicked in irritation. Bold words, he sneered. But words alone do not protect worlds. Elara met his gaze, her voice dropping to a razor-sharp edge. Neither does blind conquest, Overseer. Perhaps that's why you fear us, not because we're reckless, but because we're unpredictable. You can't bully what you don't understand. The chamber erupted again, this time with more voices in Elara's favor. Krothix's mandibles snapped shut as the arbiter raised their hand once more. This matter requires deliberation, the arbiter announced. Captain Nix, the council will reconvene tomorrow. Prepare your case. Elara nodded, stepping back as the council adjourned. The tension in the room eased, but the weight on her shoulders did not. In the corridor outside, her second-in-command, Lieutenant Marcus Wren, approached her. His expression was grim. That could have gone worse, he said. Could have gone better, Elara replied, her voice tight. Marcus handed her a datapad. Intel confirms Raxorian fleets amassing near human colonies. Krothix is gearing up for war. Elara's jaw tightened. Then we need to make sure the council sees the truth before it's too late. As she walked away, her mind churned with strategies. The game was far from over, and if the Raxorians thought humanity would surrender, to them or anyone, they were about to learn otherwise. The corridors of the Intergalactic Council's headquarters were a labyrinth of translucent tunnels that seemed to hum with a faint energy. Elara Nix walked briskly, her boots clicking on the crystalline floor. Lieutenant Marcus Wren matched her pace, his datapad glowing with updates. Raxorian fleet movements are confirmed near Proxima Colony, Marcus said, his voice low but urgent. If they move, we're looking at an invasion force. Elara frowned, her mind racing. They're banking on the council's indecision. If they can paint us as reckless, they'll justify preemptive strikes. As they turned a corner, the feathered figure of Ambassador Veltrin of the Zevran Assembly approached. His plumage, a vibrant array of greens and golds, shimmered under the pale light. Captain Nix, Veltrin greeted, his voice soft and melodic. A word? Elara nodded, dismissing Marcus with a glance. Once alone, Veltrin leaned in, his feathers ruffling slightly. The council is divided. Many see Krothix as overstepping, but others are wary of humanity's unpredictability. You need allies, and quickly. That's why I'm here, Elara replied. The Raxorians are positioning themselves for war, and we need the council to see that. Can I count on the Zevran Assembly? Veltrin hesitated. Your people's defiance intrigues us, but we value balance. Show us that your resilience serves the galaxy, not just yourselves, and you will have our support. I'll prove it, Elara said firmly. Thank you, Veltrin. As he departed, Elara's mind turned to her next move. She needed more than intrigue, she needed evidence. Hours later, Elara sat in a private chamber with her diplomatic team. A holographic map of the galaxy hovered above the table, dotted with Raxorian fleet locations. Here, Marcus said, pointing to a cluster of red markers near the Proxima border. Their fleet density suggests preparation for an offensive. But we need hard evidence. Elara nodded. Krothix thrives on plausible deniability. If we can expose his plans, we'll shift the council's opinion. One of her aides, a young analyst named Tessa, spoke up. There's a data relay station on the Raxorian border. If we could intercept their communications. That's risky, Marcus interjected. If we're caught, it could escalate things. Not as much as doing nothing, Elara countered. Tessa, coordinate with intelligence. I want that data. The next council session brought no reprieve. Krothix's voice boomed through the chamber, as he presented a report filled with half-truths and outright fabrications. Humanity's refusal to adhere to our norms is a danger to us all, Krothix declared. Their unpredictability threatens stability. They are a species without order, without foresight. Elara stood, her tone measured but cutting. Overseer Krothix, you claim we threaten stability, yet you amass fleets near our colonies. Is that stability, or preparation for conquest? Krothix's mandibles twitched. Baseless accusations. The Raxorian dominion ensures peace through strength. Perhaps humanity should learn the value of such measures. The chamber buzzed with murmurs. Elara caught the eyes of Veltrin and a few other ambassadors, their expressions unreadable. She needed to turn the tide. That evening, Tessa burst into Elara's quarters, a datapad clutched in her hands. "We got it," she said breathlessly. Elara motioned for her to proceed. Tessa projected the intercepted communication, a grainy hologram of a Raxorian admiral speaking to Krothix. "The fleets are in position, Overseer," the admiral said. "Proxima will fall within days, and the Council will have no choice but to sanction humanity." Elara's jaw tightened. "This is it. Proof of their plans. Marcus, prepare a presentation for tomorrow's session. This changes everything." The following day, the Grand Chamber was tense, the atmosphere crackling with unspoken anticipation. Elara stepped forward, datapad in hand, her heart steady but her mind sharp. "High Arbiter, esteemed Council members," she began, her voice carrying across the hall. "Humanity has been accused of destabilizing the galaxy, but the truth is far more sinister. I present to you evidence of the Raxorian Dominion's true intentions." She activated the hologram, letting the intercepted communication play for all to see. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the chamber as the Raxorian admiral's words echoed. Krothix rose, his mandibles flaring in outrage. "This is a forgery! A desperate ploy by a desperate species!" Elara met his gaze, unflinching. "Is it? The Dominion's fleet movements match these plans exactly. The Raxorians don't seek peace, they seek conquest." The chamber erupted into chaos. Some delegates called for an investigation, while others demanded immediate action. Veltrin stood, his feathers bristling. "The evidence warrants scrutiny. The Zevran Assembly will not stand by while a member species is unjustly targeted." Elara felt a surge of relief, but she knew the battle was far from over. The Council had seen the truth, but whether they would act on it remained uncertain. Later, as the session adjourned, Elara found herself standing on a balcony overlooking the city. The crystalline towers of Axivra Prime glowed softly in the twilight. Marcus joined her, his expression pensive. "We've shaken them," he said. "But Krothix won't back down easily." Elara nodded. "No, he won't. But we've exposed him, and that's a start. Humanity doesn't surrender, Marcus, not to enemies and not to doubt." As the stars lit up the alien sky, Elara knew the fight was only beginning. But for the first time, it felt like a fight they could win. The council chamber was abuzz with tension as the session resumed the next day. Holographic displays flickered above, showing the intercepted Raxorian transmission on a continuous loop. Ambassadors murmured among themselves, their expressions ranging from suspicion to outright anger. Captain Elara Nix stood at her podium, her shoulders squared. She had spent the night rehearsing her arguments, refining every word, every gesture. She couldn't afford a single misstep, not when the future of humanity was at stake. The High Arbiter's golden eyes scanned the chamber. "Captain Nix, the evidence you presented has raised significant concerns. The Raxorian Dominion stands accused of preparing an unprovoked attack on human colonies. Do you have further statements?" Elara nodded. "High Arbiter, Council members, I urge you to recognize this for what it is, a calculated power grab by the Raxorian Dominion. Their refusal to address the evidence only underscores their guilt. If the Council doesn't act, humanity will not only defend itself but also reveal the consequences of ignoring aggression in its early stages." Her words hung in the air like a drawn blade. Krothix rose from his seat, his mandibles clicking. "Lies! Fabrications from a desperate species clinging to relevance. The Raxorian Dominion seeks only to maintain order. Humanity's recklessness jeopardizes that balance." Elara faced him without flinching. "Order? Is that what you call mobilizing fleets near Proxima Colony? What does conquest have to do with balance?" The murmurs grew louder, many delegations now openly debating. Veltrin of the Zevran Assembly stood, his feathers rippling. "Overseer Krothix, your fleet movements cannot be ignored. The evidence aligns too precisely to dismiss. Denial without proof is no defense." Krothix's mandibles twitched, but he remained silent. The arbiter raised their hand. This council must deliberate on the accusations. Until then, we suspend all fleet mobilizations in contested regions. Any violations will be considered acts of war. Elara exhaled, a mix of relief and apprehension coursing through her. The council had bought humanity time, but she knew Krothix wouldn't wait idly. Later that evening, Elara convened with her team in a secure briefing room. The mood was tense, but focused. Marcus, any updates from intelligence? She asked, her voice steady. Marcus tapped his datapad, bringing up a star map. Our scouts report Raxorian fleets still on the move. They're banking on the Council's slow response to strike before sanctions can take effect. Tessa chimed in, her voice sharp. We've intercepted more communications. Krothix is consolidating his forces near Proxima. They're preparing for a blitz. Elara nodded grimly. Then we need to act first. If we can intercept their flagship, we can cripple their command structure and force them to retreat. That's a high-risk move, Marcus warned. If we fail, we won't, Elara cut in. Her eyes burned with determination. We've come too far to falter now. Humanity's survival depends on this. The Vanguard, humanity's flagship, slipped into Raxorian-controlled space under the cover of a dense asteroid field. Elara stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as the ship's crew worked with quiet efficiency. Status report, she called out. Raxorian fleet detected, Marcus replied, pointing to the holographic display. Their flagship, Dominion's Wrath, is at the center. Escorts are in tight formation. Perfect, Elara said. We'll use the asteroids for cover and get as close as we can. Tessa, prepare the jamming systems. I don't want them calling reinforcements. Aye, Captain, Tessa replied, her fingers flying across her console. The minutes stretched into tense silence as the Vanguard maneuvered closer. The asteroid field was treacherous, each massive rock spinning with unpredictable velocity. Elara's pulse remained steady, her focus unshaken. Within firing range in 30 seconds, Marcus announced. Elara nodded. Prepare all weapons. Target their flagship's engines and communication array. We're going to cripple them before they know what hit them. As the Vanguard emerged from the asteroid field, its weapons systems lit up. A barrage of energy blasts streaked across the void, slamming into the Dominion's Wrath. Explosions rippled along its hull, tearing through critical systems. Direct hit on their engines, Marcus reported. They're dead in the water. Return fire incoming, Tessa shouted. The Vanguard shuddered as Raxorian escorts opened fire, their weapons pounding the ship's shields. Elara gripped the edge of her console, her voice sharp. Evasive maneuvers. Focus on the escorts, don't let them regroup. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as the crew executed her orders. The Vanguard weaved through the enemy formation, its weapons blazing. One by one, the Raxorian escorts fell, their wreckage scattering like debris in a storm. Captain, the Dominion's Wrath is hailing us, Tessa said. Put them through, Elara ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Krothix's enraged visage. You dare attack a Raxorian flagship? This is an act of war. Elara's expression was cold, unyielding. Your actions forced our hand, Overseer. Humanity will not surrender, and we will not stand by while you threaten our people. Krothix's mandibles clicked furiously. You think this will end here? The Dominion will crush your insolence. Elara stepped closer to the display, her voice low but searing. Then come and try. But know this, every human you face will fight like 10, because we don't know the meaning of surrender. The transmission cut off abruptly, but the message had been delivered. As the Raxorian fleet began to scatter, the Vanguard pulled back into the safety of the asteroid field. The bridge was silent for a moment, the crew absorbing what they had just accomplished. Marcus broke the silence. They'll regroup eventually. This isn't over. Elara nodded. No, it's not. But we've shown them what humanity is capable of. And when they come back, we'll be ready. She looked out at the stars, her resolve unwavering. Humanity had drawn its line, not in sand, but in the void. The galaxy would never forget it.